There's always ifs. That's why they're 80-1. But let's make no mistake about it. 80-1, they're not in the SEC, and they just beat Utah. This is a team that people don't know, and I said this last week around the country and went on, nobody knows exactly how good this team is. They're a bunch of guns for hire. None of them are from West Texas. They're all guns for hire. They're out there to win a national championship and get paid. Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. October is here, right? No, it's not here yet. It's almost here. Almost to October. And another winning week in the books. Very excited about this week and this month coming up. Show's already off the rails. Let me quickly bring in my co-host from Louisville, Kentucky, because he will get us back going the right way. We'll give away some free winners. We'll get you making some money. We'll talk about last week and so much more. Mr. Brandon Rush, how are you, buddy?
I am swell. It is almost spooky season, yeah. So October right around the corner, but some spooky things happening for some teams. The Houston Texans winless. The Dallas Cowboys, who knows what they are week to week. There is a lot of unknown, but the good news is what we do know is we're going to win this weekend, just as we have every weekend of football season so far.
It's been such a great start to the year, and I say the football season, because we've been going since January. That's our year. 25 has been a great year also. We had a great January. February, we had about 10 days of not great basketball, but then we went crazy the latter part of February into March, April, May. And since football started, Brandon, week 0, we made money again in the NFL preseason. Week 0, we were 12-3 on that opening Saturday across all sports. Week 1, we were 7-3. Week 2, we were 9-4, 9-3 the next week. We won this last week again, just building profit every week. And guys are making a lot of money betting on sports, some of them for the first time, and that's really been fun. I've been exciting, and I hear from people that, I've said, this is my first time to ever start the year and not be playing catch-up. And that's a real liberating thing, right?
Well, and it's a rare thing that if you've never experienced it before, you don't know what to do. Like if you open up your account on Monday morning, if you're on a sports betting app and you see a lot more than you put in, you don't know what to do with that. Do you take some out? Do you just keep your money in your bankroll? I mean, when bankroll management on the plus side becomes a new problem for you, that's a good thing. And a lot of people, like you said, are not used to that, especially in September.
Yeah, new problems to have for sure. And the general public, what normally happens and what's happening this year to guys betting on their own is they're starting out the year losing every single week. And primarily on Saturdays and Sundays have been very bad. I mean, for the general public, the most bet games this last week again, and they did a little better this last week. Thank goodness. I feel when you're winning, Brandon, so much, you start feeling sad for the general public because you don't want them to lose. But the top 5 most bet games of the week, the last 3 weeks before this week, were 2 and 13. So if you're betting with what everybody else is betting, looking at the favorite teams, think Georgia, think whoever's
Alabama, Texas,
Alabama.
Notre Dame. The marquee names always seem to get the most money, regardless of who their opponent is.
So those top 5 bet teams were 2 and 13 so far against the spread over 3 weeks. This last week they went 3-2. So you didn't go broke. You made 1 unit minus juice. So now the top 5 plays of the week, as far as the general public, what they're putting in their money into, they're 5-15 against the spread. To your point, what we're talking about, that's not I have too much money in my account, what do I do about it? That's what now? Do I back my bet up and hope things turn? Do I stop betting for a while and hopefully reset? Or just play a parlay on Saturday and hope for the best? Do I start anti-ing myself because I clearly stink at this and I need to probably bet the opposite? Or do I finally go to FatJackSports.com and take a chance on somebody who comes on every week and tells exactly how things went? And then more importantly, the games I'm going to get are going to be posted and documented on the website under the results tab so I can see exactly what my record is with everybody else and how they're doing and how his clients and most importantly he's doing and Brandon are doing betting on these same games. FatJackSports.com. Perfect time of year. Not perfect. Perfect would have been a month ago. Perfect would have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Still good. You're not too late. I guess that's the lesson here. We won again on Saturday. We'll talk about last week real quick. Then we're getting into this week, make you some money. Soccer, let's start with soccer because we haven't started with soccer. Soccer won again this weekend. Built profit. Those plays cost about $10 a week, $20 a week when you add them to your football and/or basketball package, which it's getting ready to be October. Basketball is coming. Winter is coming. Basketball is coming. Get ready. We make a ton of money during basketball season. Those combo packages are better. Soccer wins, builds us profit. I mentioned that first because it goes first thing Saturday morning. Before we even get to lunchtime, we're up money. Then the games start on Saturday. 4-2 again on Saturday. So now 14-4 on Saturdays the last 3 weeks. 14-4. Brandon, everybody's winning money on Saturdays. Got lucky in one game, and I'm going to say that because I'm getting ready to complain about some of the unluckiness when I get to Sunday. But got lucky on the Temple game. Temple game comes down 3 seconds left, whatever, they score late. They'd given up a late score, too, to not be covering, to be fair. So they were covering, then they weren't covering, then they covered. So that was lucky. Louisville was unlucky. Given 26 with Louisville, I think they lost or won by 24. They were covering late, give up a late score. That's not my complaining. It's coming on Sunday. And then the other ones were actually very easy. Had under again in the Oklahoma game. They ended up getting it done easily against Auburn. We'll talk about that Auburn-Oklahoma game briefly here in just a little bit because I have some opinions on that. I thought it was just an amazing game. Auburn under, Baylor under was easy. It was never even in doubt. That game, they played Arizona State, went under easily. Texas Tech at Utah. Everybody loved Utah. Everybody loved Kyle Whittingham.
What a whooping that thing was.
Texas Tech's for real. To the point, I'm probably going to put, even though a little bit of the value is gone, and I should have done this a month ago, I'm probably going to put a little bit on them to win the national championship. This is a $30 million roster that looks like it might be worth some money. My clients, it's already been worth money. We're 3-0 playing Texas Tech. They've covered 3. We played them 3 times. They've covered 3 times. So 14-4 on Saturdays. 3 of those have been Texas Tech. Actually, 2 of those have been under in the Oklahoma game. So been riding some of the same teams. So 5 of the 14 wins have been on 2 different teams. Building profit everywhere. And by the way, I should mention before that, we won Monday, we won Thursday, we won Friday. Everything won leading of the week. Then we're 4-2 on Saturday. Sunday, we had our first bad Sunday, which are going to happen. If you watch the NFL, if you play the NFL, you know it's not easy. We were 1-3 on Sunday, but we hit the selection. We lose the selection. We lose a couple of opinions, which are worst half. So we end up losing 1 unit back off a great, almost undefeated week to that point. One of those losses was the over in the Dallas-Chicago Bears game. Also, if you follow us on social media at Fat Jack Sports, preferably TikTok, you got that free winner. You also got the Oklahoma game under the total as a free winner. So you were 1-1 with the free winners last week on the social medias. But Dallas and Chicago, Brandon, and it was not in the top 5 worst beats of the day, probably.
No, and for most people, yeah, but on our radar, it was definitely not a. It looked like we were cruising. Yeah, we
49.5 ends up being the total. There's 38 points in the first half. They're moving up and down the field.
Track meet.
Second half, they get it into the end zone one time, and then they decide they're going to throw interceptions going into the end zone a couple other times. Dak Prescott basically throwing it to the other team 2 or 3 different times. One time that first and goal from the 3 didn't get it in. So anyway, that's basically the loss that turned a push Sunday into a losing Sunday, which, by the way, handicappers don't ever talk about that. Nobody's ever going to talk about losing. My gosh. You can't say you had to lose. When you do nothing but win leading up to that point, being realistic, setting realistic goals is fine. If these are the type of problems, as Brandon said, too much money in your account, winning every day of the week, winning except Sunday and then giving a unit back, winning every week this season since week 0 and then winning in the preseason, if those are the problems you want to have, fatjacksports.com. It's less than $100 a week to win going forward. Go through Halloween, less than $100 a week right now. Add those other sports, soccer, UFC, NFL player props. All of those are added for very inexpensive, less than $100 a week to add those. So you're not paying $200 a week to get every sport. You're going to make money betting on sports if you'll just do this. FatJackSports.com, follow our system, and start winning. Where do we start, Brandon? You want to go in reverse and talk about Sunday, since I left there with probably the worst beat maybe in the last 10 years. or you want to go back to Oklahoma and then we'll move forward to the OU Auburn game. Talk about that for a minute. Where you want to go?
Let's talk NFL. The craziness that we are in a world where the Indianapolis Colts are 3-0. The Chargers essentially have a 2-game lead already in the AFC West, and Kansas City finally just won a football game. The Falcons laid an absolute egg, which I don't know how many people, if any, saw that coming. But yeah, an epic bad beat, maybe the worst NFL bad beat potentially in a decade.
In about a 15-minute period where our pets' heads were falling off.
It was absolute mayhem. I was at a concert festival and I was watching on my phone, just flabbergasted by what I was watching.
The NFL turned into the MAC for about 20 minutes. Their punts return for touchdown. We got New Orleans at the same time is giving up a punt return for a touchdown and getting a punt blocked as we're getting multiple field goal attempts blocked at the same time in the NFL. That it never happens.
Never happens.
This week, count up how many. Now, heck, maybe it's a new thing. I don't know. Maybe special teams coordinators probably need to be fired. When you're at that level and you have all of the talent, and think about all the talent you have to pick from when you're an NFL coach. I get it if you're Miami of Ohio and you're trying to figure out who's going to play right guard on the kick on the extra point team. But if you're in the NFL and you have the facilities, I could name a couple kids from Heritage Hall that might be able to hold up a little better than some of those dudes did, in the NFL this last week. It was hard to watch. And the Green Bay game is the one we're talking about. If you were out on the moon or at the festival without your phone working, possibly you missed this one. But the Rams. The Rams game against Philadelphia, the Rams own the entire game. And by the way, Brandon, we were dangerously close to having that as one of our picks. Fifth was Pittsburgh. I released 4. Okay. Fifth was Pittsburgh. Sixth was under the total in the Denver game. And 7th were the Rams. And they were all 3 very, very close. So I got to the point where I still have a ton of new clients. I don't like going crazy in the NFL. And Sundays have been a little dicey with randomness anyway. And so I asked myself, okay, it's either release 7 or release 4. If I'd release 5 or 6, we win both of those. So they both would have won. They both won relatively easily. But it got to the point with the rating where it was either going to be 7 plays on Saturday or it was going to be 4.
7 on Sunday.
7 plays on Sunday or it was going to be 4 on Sunday. Because the 3 next plays up were all rated very, very similar. 2 of them won. The other one was the Rams against Philly. So go back and watch it. If you haven't seen it, you're under a rock. You just need to get signed up. Don't watch the games, I guess, because everybody's seen it by now. But yeah, mayhem broke out on Sunday across the league. We left pretty much unscathed. Had a couple of bad picks on Sunday. Had the Giants. That was a bad pick. Even though it was close, they could have covered at the end. Bad pick. I hate Russell Wilson. And New Orleans was bad also. Yeah, and that was a late. I went in late with them. There was value there. That same process to getting to that pick got us Dallas in week 1. It got us Miami against Buffalo on Thursday. So I kind of shrugged my shoulders, and it was one of those that we've made enough money playing that trend, playing that formula to value, and the number got up to 8. I could go through the stats of why it was important, but it doesn't make any difference. They looked horrible. They lost badly. But we're about long-term success. So you don't leave one team out just because this one team's horrible. If you're already building profit and making money in the same season, playing a certain angle or certain trend, which we've been doing a number of times. So fatjacksports.com, get signed up and win today. So the biggest shock, Brandon, I want to talk about the teams. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Let's start there. We're going to go to college, but I am interested. It's a very interesting year in the league because the teams that Philly should be 2-1. How many times can you rely on an extra point or a field goal being blocked? It wasn't even a long field goal. It wasn't a backup kicker. How many times do you rely on that? So Philly should be 2-1. Baltimore has a loss to Buffalo. Buffalo looks good, obviously, but who's going to win? Who do you like right now?
Right now, it's Buffalo, unfortunately for us. And then there's a stretch of maybe 6 to 8 teams that on any given day are going to be great. Looking at Philadelphia, the Packers, maybe the Steelers and the Bucks can get into that conversation. The Chargers, maybe the upper echelon of that second group. But honestly, right now it's in week 4 of the NFL. It's Buffalo in the field.
And Buffalo not by much. They could easily have a loss. I mean, Baltimore's the
They
first team in the
they
history
looked
of the
very
league.
vulnerable. They looked very vulnerable Thursday night against Miami.
And Baltimore's the first team in the history of the league in week 1 when they lost to score 40 points and have 250 yards rushing and lose a game. That has never happened in the league. So Baltimore could easily be undefeated. I guess my point is this is a tough league. If you're betting alone, the one thing you want to do is be ahead and be way up right now. And if you're not, it's time to go to FatJackSports.com and get signed up. Let's quickly turn backwards on Saturday, and then we'll talk about the college card. Saturday, I want to talk about OU Auburn. Give me your overall thoughts. Were you at the concert then too? Or did you watch the game?
I was. It was 4 straight days, and the phone was getting a workout. Defensively, very impressive performance from Oklahoma's defense. I don't know how much of that is Venables knowing how to attack a former player and knowing his strengths and weaknesses better than maybe the quarterback that they're going to see from South Carolina or any other place. But a very dominant performance. The run game got a little better. And all in all, it was an impressive win. And now we've got Oklahoma team.
I want to talk about none of that. I want to talk about and this has nothing to do with because I am from Oklahoma originally, and I'm really not. We'll talk about the prospects long term for Oklahoma and or the SEC because all of that is very relevant, and there's still a lot of question marks up on how good Oklahoma is, how good Alabama is, how good all these teams that are at the top, where they are. I'm more concerned with your thoughts overall on the quote-unquote trick play where the kid was coming off the field, nobody guarded him, he ran in the end zone like it was in the 5th grade, the multiple pass interference. What are your thoughts about the officiating in that game, and did you think it played a part at all?
Absolutely. To my understanding, the rule, you come past the numbers, you're heading towards the sideline, like you got to go off. I've seen that trick play in high school 1,000 times.
And middle school. They love it in middle school.
Yeah. That's a little league special right there. And the pass interference calls weren't great.
The fumble that was scooped up and scored. Did you see that one on replay?
Yeah, that was shaky. The
officiating was the worst officiated football game I've seen maybe in the history of the world. Let me just put it out there right now. The worst officiating. It was so bad. Other than the time that an extra point went through in Syracuse, I lost.
We went through the uprights, and they were like,
go through
no.
The uprights, and it didn't go through, and they called it good, and I lose by a half a point. They called a good extra point. It was a bad extra point in Syracuse about 7 years ago. That was the worst officiating. This was second. If it had happened the other way around, Oklahoma fans would be losing their minds. The scoop, I get over the scoop, even though it was a fumble. I don't know how they didn't call it a fumble. It was a fumble. It's scoop and score. That everybody makes mistakes. This is like Hannah Montana. Everybody makes mistakes. Then you go to the trick place. I'm coming off the field. I'm not coming off the field. It was 100% illegal. One of my best friends, Jim Traber, who does a show, went on the post game. I was told, I didn't listen to the post game, and said it wasn't illegal. It 100% was illegal. The SEC's come out and said it was illegal. You can't come off and at the very minimum, it was slimy. If it had happened the other way, nobody's guarding the dude. The coach is over there screaming timeout in the official's face. Nobody guards him. He throws it down like we're at the playground in middle school, and he scores. My only point is if this had been reversed, and let's forget the pass interference calls, there were 2 of them, one on the double pass, now just not called. If it was the other way around, OU fans would be losing their absolute mind right now. And so my point to this is if you're Auburn, you definitely are good enough to count that as a win as far as where you are. And if you're the Oklahoma Sooners and the Oklahoma Sooner fans, you should definitely look at this game as incredibly lucky that you won. And let's not make reservations for Miami's national championship game just yet, because this team took, and I said this before, they took a step in the right direction. They needed to play better. They got a ton of help. It wasn't one play. A ton of help from the officials. Doesn't mean they would have lost Had all those been called correctly, it does not mean they would have lost. And I'm not
Right.
saying that. I'm just saying when you power rate teams, when I power rate teams from a gambling standpoint, and we can talk about OSU later if you want, because that's totally another problem. We've got our first edition of a new segment coming up in the second segment where we have Murray Parrish from Parrish Devon breaking down a free winner, and he goes to the meat of the fire with the Oklahoma State prediction coming up next week. I wouldn't touch that team with a 10-foot pole. That team looks like they could literally have a mutiny and be calling for open call-outs, trying to get students out of the student section to play for that team right now. They look lost. But if you're an OU fan, I look at this type game as you have to look at why is not as much as how, or how as much as how many. So you won, yes, that's great. Auburn, you lost, no, that's bad. But all is not lost at Auburn. All is not fixed at OU. I guess that's the point. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today and start winning this weekend.
Back out to Allen.
Before the ball is tipped or a shot is even taken, before the crowd explodes or history's made. If you're going to bet, have a game plan. Bet legally, set limits, and keep it fun. When gambling becomes a problem, visit responsibleplay.org to find help.
If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it, we are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week, get free winners, and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host getting you ready to wrap up a winning September. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour. You're right, guys. It's been a great September, and I rarely say that. It's not great because we've gone 10-1 and then had a bunch of push weeks. It's great because we've done nothing but build profit every week, and that does not happen all year long. Normally, we'll get coming up over the next month or so, we're going to have some 10-1s. We may push a couple times. Right now, I'm absolutely dialed in on both. Our losing days are normally going to be unlucky days. I've had very few, like, quote-unquote bad picks, especially in the NFL, but both college and the NFL. And college, lots and lots of easy picks, and then we're tossing up the kind of, lucky games or unlucky spots. So I expect that to continue, building profit through October. Of course, basketball comes up. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Brandon, what'd you do last weekend before we turn to the NFL and college football?
A 4-day concert festival, which is the largest rock and metal festival in the country, literally 7 miles from my house. I feel obligated as a fan to go. So 4 straight days of being amongst 100,000 people listening to very loud screaming music and trying to be involved and make money betting games was an interesting thing, because you're having a turkey leg and a $12 beer, and then you're also really sweating an Oklahoma Auburn game.
Yeah, no, definitely multitasking for sure. What's the crowd like at a thing like that? Is it people, because it's rock/metal? Is metal still a thing with younger kids, or an excuse to go out and mosh pit and get high or whatever people do? Or is it mainly older people that lived Ozzy Osbourne, those type things, and now or harder, and then they're older, and that's the people there? Is there
the festival does a good job of getting enough bands to kind of to bridge that gap. So one day had Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden was playing, but then also newer bands. So they definitely bridge the gap. So it could be 70-year-old grandmas out there in fishnets, or 12-year-olds out there with mohawks crowd surfing. It's
such
a good
an interesting time in our world with music, because when we were growing up, it was the 50s and the twist and the bop and all that kind of stuff. And so you got these seeming old people. Now our age grew up with that type of stuff. I mean, no holds bar, do whatever you want, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. I'll tell you, we could not be further apart in music before I go to college football, because my big thing this week in music was that the tickets for Coachella, the lineup for Coachella was
Yeah.
announced, and
Yeah.
I immediately bought. I'm Amex, so I immediately bought VIP passes. Sabrina Carpenter on Friday fired everybody in my group up, and then Justin Bieber is the headliner on Saturday. So I'm betting that neither of those were at your concert this weekend.
Neither. And looking through the lineup for Coachella, there's only maybe two bands that are going to be playing Coachella that were even in consideration for the festival I was just at.
Well, I will probably not be watching those, but I did buy VIP tickets immediately, so I'll be at Coachella come up in the spring. So FatJackSports.com, get signed up. I'm also going to run with the Bulls this summer, so I'm going to do a lot better job in Pamplona, Spain. So I'm right now getting in shape for running with the Bulls. We got to get to sports. Getting in shape for running with the Bulls. I'm having Karen chase me down the alley in the golf cart. And so she's getting me prepared to jump in front of the cart, jump out of the front of the cart. It will ramp up as we get closer.
Have you mounted like the horns on the front of the golf cart, like a 1970s Cadillac hat driven by an oil baron?
Yeah, Burt Reynolds stuff.
Yeah,
we're absolutely doing that. That's going to be coming as it gets closer. All right, now I'm in like freshman class of running with the Bulls, so it's a pretty good size alley. I've got an alley back here. The golf cart goes 30. So, I mean, we're getting I know Bulls are faster than 30. Don't email me. But the golf cart goes 30. I start in the middle. I start running, and then I duck out of the way and see if she can hit me with the golf cart. So that's where we are right now without running into any other buildings and or cars. Later on, as we get ramp up in the spring, early spring, January, February, March, we're going to attach horns to it. I'm going to get some video. We'll put it online. There's going to be something for everybody come this spring. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Big, huge weekend of college football. So we can go straight to Georgia, Alabama, but there's other great games. Listen, Auburn A&M is a big one for me. I think this Auburn team's better than what they played. I do think that Brent Venables had a big part in how he was not very effective, and I think A&M plays similar to both Oklahoma and Auburn.
Yep.
Tough road spot for Auburn again, but that's a big one. And then Ohio State going to Washington. We get to see what they are. College football, before we get into these games, who's going to win the national championship if you had to bet right now?
LSU. As much as it hurts my heart, because I really don't like Brian Kelly, nor am I a big fan of LSU. But they, to me, right now, seem to be a team that is very dangerous, and they have a huge test this weekend because they go to Oxford to play an Ole Miss team, which is feisty. If maybe not as explosive offensively as they were in previous years with Jackson Dart, but that's a pivotal matchup this weekend, one of many.
Yeah, and Ole Miss has gotten better defensively. So no, they're not the offensive juggernaut they have been in the past, but they're playing better defensively, and he seems to have them going. A big test for both of them. What do you think about the Georgia Alabama game? That's the one of the day. Georgia 3-point favorite at home after going and taking care of business late against Tennessee and Knoxville. Now they host Alabama. That seems like they have it going. What are your thoughts on that one?
I keep looking back at that opening game loss by Alabama to Florida State and want to make it worse than it actually is. I think Florida State obviously is better than they have been in 2024.
For sure.
And I can't hang too much on that loss considering it's the first game. You don't play a preseason. You got a bunch of transfers in. Having the bye week though, from thumping Wisconsin to now get ready for Georgia, who I think is a pretty good team, but also very lucky to be undefeated at this point, having that big comeback win against Tennessee. This is you can't even really say it's an eliminator game because 2, maybe even 3 teams from the SEC will get in. The fact that it's in Athens, to me, kind of makes me feel like Georgia's probably the right side.
So Georgia 3-point favorite at home, totals 53.5. Alabama's covered 6 of the last 9 games overall. And of course, one of those was the loss to Florida State. They didn't cover, which, again, I'm with you. Florida State, we had Florida State in that game. They were one of our plays. Not surprising at all. They are certainly better than I thought they were going to be, but there was a lot of value in playing them against Georgia or against Alabama in that game. Alabama also 4-1 against the spread their last 5 in this series. They've gotten the better of Georgia in this matchup over recent history. Of course, a lot of those had Nick Saban involved, wasn't the same team, same coach, et cetera, et cetera. Georgia consistently the other way, 1-6 against the spread their last 7. They didn't cover against Tennessee. They're not covering games in general. And I do think that you're not going to get value with Georgia. They are still the big boy, the big brother. So they're going to have to earn it. I could see this game being very close. 10 of the last 13 in the series have gone over the total. There's been more points, which that's contrarian to what I think a lot of the general public would think. Both these teams defensive-minded, defensive-driven. That's evolved a little bit, especially with Alabama since Saban is gone with their new coach. And I do think that Alabama has both of these teams, and we say this a lot, when these type teams play each other, the team that is willing to open it up, use more imagination, take more risks, especially on early downs, is typically going to be the one that wins and has success. That's been Alabama more times than not as it relates to the number. Think Saban at the end of his career. They did a really good job of not just running it up inside, running the ball, play action passes, short control passing, not really taking huge threats down the field, but doing enough within their system, short game-wise, that they were able to move the chain, stay on top of things, and ultimately cover numbers. I think this game goes under the total, even though most of them have gone over. We're seeing a lot of these, especially in the SEC, and maybe I'm being tainted a little bit with what I've seen out of Oklahoma against everybody else in the SEC. Texas A&M and Oklahoma and Auburn and those type, even Ole Miss, those type teams not scoring a ton of points, playing more quote-unquote SEC ball. That has not always been the case with this matchup, but I'm going to go under the total as your first free winner of the day. FatJackSports.com. This will not be a release, most likely. One of our plays will have 6 or 7 games going on Saturday. The worst Saturday we've had is 4-2. We've had multiple Saturdays better than that. The soccer won again last week. UFC's coming up again this week. Players props is going. Everything's going, and now is the time. We're getting ready to get a time of the year when basketball is going as well. A ton of plays. You want to build your bankroll now to really put your foot on the throat of whoever you're betting against once we get into hoops. Because with the volume of plays, Brandon, it's not unusual for us to win 20 games in a week. When you talk about the UFC, when you talk about and it's not going to happen every week, but we'll have those weeks where when you add up the players' props, you add up the soccer, you add up the UFC, you do the football and the basketball over a week, 20 games plus is very doable and will happen probably once a month on average. We go through, even if you're betting $100 a game and 50 on the lower ones, you're going to make $2,000 or $3,000 in that 1 week. All right, you don't want to miss those weeks. Don't miss those weeks, especially on a year like we're going right now. We're having such a great start. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up and win today. Brandon, another game that you're interested in on Saturday. Let's break down one more.
I mean, there's 2 marquee matchups in that 3:30 Eastern window. You get Ole Miss, LSU, and then Ohio State, Washington. People are going to gravitate towards Bama and Georgia on Saturday night. Do not sleep on Oregon, Penn State. That is a Big Ten supremacy type of establishment game. Who's going to challenge the throne for Ohio State? And the fact that the Ducks are going to be going into Happy Valley is a matchup we would have seen before conference realignment. But the fact that this is a conference game, a big-time conference game, on at the exact same time as Alabama, Georgia, remotes are going to be getting a workout on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's really, you need YouTube TV or
something that has a multi-view where multiple TVs, or you can do split screens or something like that.
Yeah, and we don't give credit where credit's due a lot of the time, but that has been one of those things that there are so many good games going right now. We talk about all of the turnover in college football and all. It is really has, on a lot of respects, level the playing field, at least right now. I mean, we don't have, if you think about the idea of not being able to transfer and having to set out all that, we would probably have, at least right now. Now, we'll see. It might be Georgia may win it all, Ohio State may win it all, but we have a lot of balance. We have players that are being paid to play. We haven't even talked about Texas Tech and their dominated. We talked a little bit, not a lot, about their domination out in Utah. And they're a team that wants to throw their hat in the ring from the Big 12. The playoffs are going to be incredible when we get to that point. That Oregon-Penn State game, Penn State 3.5-point favorite. Oregon's done nothing but everything they needed to do. They haven't played anybody great, but they're 4-0, and they've looked very impressive in everything they've done. What are your thoughts on this game? Penn State, what are they?
That's the $1 million question for me, because Penn State, like Oregon, has not played anybody. They looked sluggish in the first half of that Villanova game 2 weeks ago, but again, coming off a bye, getting ready for the biggest game of their year so far. Very interested to see what they can do. The fact that they're scoring, they've scored over 34 points a game, granted against Nevada and Florida International in the first few weeks, is impressive, because when you think of a James Franklin coach team, they're probably mid to upper 20s and then try to win by playing defense. This is the best offensive output we've seen from Penn State. It definitely in James Franklin's tenure, and they're going to have to, I think, do that to keep up with a high flying Oregon offense who is not afraid to go out and put 60 on somebody.
It definitely seems like it's the most, if you want to talk Pac-12 versus Big Ten conference game that we've seen in a while. I mean, Penn State, yes, offensively they've done better, but I don't think Penn State wins this thing in any type of shootout. If they win, it's because
it's lower scoring.
Yeah, physically they go back to what they are, which is defense and time of possession and no mistakes. It's whiting, and they're whiting out at Happy Valley. So they win it that way versus an Oregon team that is going to want to score every single time they get it. They're going to need to get it in the 30s. So although you're exactly right, Penn State has been a lot better offensively. This seems like for them to win, it's not going to be the offensive side of the ball. Oregon will get enough stops. Oregon's game gone over the total 5 of their last 7 games. They're actually 18-1 straight up their last 19 games. So they're going to Happy Valley. They're getting points. This is a team that has not lost a lot in recent history. 18-1 Oregon is straight up their last 19, and actually 8-0 straight up their last 8 on the road. Penn State been the opposite. They're 1-4 against the spread this year so far, not covering games. They've gone over. They're 16-3 their last 19 games, but their losses, as always well documented, are against really good teams. This is the type of team that has a really good chance of beating Penn State and them going to 16-4 and say, boy, it's a great record until you look at who their 4 losses are. They also been trending over. 7 of their last 10 games have gone over. I think this is a lower scoring game that actually Oregon wins. So I think Oregon goes in, does enough offensively, but it's also one of those games you could look really stupid midway through the third quarter if you play either team. You could play Oregon, and they could be down 21-7, and they're not moving the ball because they haven't played anybody yet. Oklahoma State was like playing an inter-squad scrimmage, and so they haven't seen anybody yet. And so you could look foolish and be like, boy, physically they're just getting hammered. This thing's going to end 35-14. Or it could be the opposite, and you could see them going the other direction and getting up a higher scoring game, and Penn State offensively not being there.
Well, it was like the Big Ten championship game last year. Oregon hung 45 on Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. So, I mean, it's very conceivable that either one of these teams could be into the 40s. But I think it's much more likely that you would see Oregon get in the 40s before you'd see Penn State there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Big weekend of football. So let's do Oregon and the under as 2 more free winners. I want to give away a lot of free winners this week on the show because we spent a lot of talking about last week in segment number 1. Included in that is going to be another free winner coming up, not from me, not from you, but from who else would you want to get a free winner from? Mr. Murray Parrish from Parrish Devon in Oklahoma City, one of my lifelong friends, great guy. And really what it is, Brandon, it's an opportunity to not only educate people on personal injury attorneys, because they're very important if you get in a wreck, but more importantly, it's an opportunity to give away some money. So we're going to give away some cash in the form of credit to any package that I have. All you have to do is go find the video that's coming up and like and follow it on any of our social media platforms at Fat Jack Sports. You'll be entered in a drawing. We'll give away $250 in credit toward any package going forward We're here now with Murray Parrish from Parrish Devon with a new exciting segment we're going to run once a month, at least maybe more, to try to give away some cash to people who are signing up for the service. Mr. Murray Parrish, how are you, buddy? How are things going?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jackie?
Living the dream. You know, it's weekend. Everybody's loving football. We're just getting after it. And, you know, a couple of things I just want to ask you about Parrish Devon and about personal injury attorneys in general, because I don't think a lot of people know the importance of getting an attorney if something happens to them. And why get an attorney at all when you get in a car wreck?
I can almost ask you exactly the same question regarding kind of your line of work and like why on earth would someone need to hear what Jackie thinks is going to win a football game? It's because you know what you're doing. And if you've never been involved in something like this, you have no idea. You don't know what's next. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's fair. You don't know what's unfair. And I can tell you the insurance company you're dealing with absolutely knows what to expect. They have a whole team of lawyers and adjusters, and their job is to pay as little as possible. And so unless you have somebody working for you that knows how the system works and knows how to maximize the value in your case, you're most likely leaving quite a bit of money on the table.
People who do it alone, they come back and have buyer's remorse for doing it incorrectly on their own, and then they get signed up. I'm sure you guys get a lot of people that have gone through it, and they're like, gosh, I wish I had done something different. I needed to call Parrish Devon earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst. Particularly, I'll hear these stories, and they've already, you know, the claim is over, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. You know, I mean, I see it all the time, but there's no cost. The only way you'll ever pay us any money is if and when we win your case. And so, certainly worth looking into, at least to educate yourself, if nothing less.
Pepperwins.com, that's the website. Get people, if you're out there, you've had an auto accident, you know somebody that has, absolutely give them a call. Let's give away some money, Murray. So we've got, and by the way, Murray and I have been friends since we were like 9 years old. We were riding bicycles together on the east side of Norman. This is the guy that I trust in this world. Really an awesome, awesome friend and very good at his job. Well, let's see how kind of handicapper you are. Let's give away a free winner. If this hits, we're going to give away $250 next week. Go to the social media at FatJack Sports, like and follow. You'll be in the drawing. As long as Murray goes 1 for 1, we're going to give away $250. Murray, who do you like this week?
Okay, let me tell you, I've thought about this a lot, and I want to make an analogy. And so you go to Vegas, and you've probably played roulette, and
all of it, yeah.
Lots of times I'm still looking at that roulette wheel, and I can see it's hit red 18 times in a row. Well, you know what's going to happen next. It's going to hit black. That's just the way it works. And I understand you use objective evidence. You look at stats. You look at trends. I'm going to go from the gut kind of guy. And so the game that I like is the Oklahoma State game.
Okay.
They haven't won a game at home since 2024. So they're due. And they get a big point spread. And so I feel like the Cowboys are going to pull it out. That's my pick.
So get right. So 2 lessons here. Number 1, the roulette wheel does not have a memory, so it can go red all day long. It's the same odds every time. But hopefully the people in Stillwater circled the wagons up there, and your alma mater is going to get it done on Saturday. As long as Oklahoma State gets it done, $250 going out to one of our great listeners. Murray, thanks so much for joining us. Pepperwins.com. If you've been in an auto accident, go look them up.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour for the final time this week. Here is our host, getting ready for playoff baseball. He's the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 3. You know, we haven't talked a lot about baseball for a couple of reasons. Number 1, the football's been so good. Soccer won again. UFC's won 5 of the last 7 weeks. And number 2, the baseball sucked. So it's free.
Right.
It's number 3. And I basically have told anybody that's asked, don't play the free stinky plays. Get signed up at FatJackSports.com
and play the good smelling winning plays.
Play the musky plays that'll get you fired up about your week and get you into some profit. That's what we're doing. You know, basically baseball's like a 1984 Chevy Pinto. I mean, if I have no other car and it will get me to the 7-Eleven to get some donuts, then I'm going to jump in that bad boy and drive it. But if I'm sitting at a Rolls-Royce dealership, I'm not getting in the Pinto. So that's what baseball is. It's free. If it's the only thing going and or it's creating money, let's do it. Let's play it. If it's not, Let's let the thing settle. Let them figure it out, because that's not my deal. Let them figure it out. I'm not charging anything for it. No sweat off my back. Let's dominate like we've been doing in all the other sports. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Win this weekend. We were talking about off the air, Brandon. Texas Tech. By the time this runs, I will definitely have a futures on them to win the national championship. And again, let's apply it to what we do in the NFL. I don't need Texas Tech to win the national championship as long as they're over 20-1. I just need them to make the playoffs, make the tournament. We talked about this last year with Clemson and some others that we took advantage of. Texas Tech seems primed to me to be in that subset, and you were saying their odds are long, right?
Yeah, and depending on which sports book you use, you're going to get some very wild numbers and a pretty big range. They opened the season, Jack, at 300-1 to win the national championship, based off the performance they've done in the first quarter of the season and how dominant they were in Salt Lake City. That number is down to anywhere from 40 to 80-1, depending on what sports book you use. So yeah, that fits all the criteria. You got a team that's almost kind of in the driver's seat, appears to be the class of the Big 12 so far, over 20-1. You get them into the playoff, you can hedge against that puppy a couple times and still turn away with some pretty nice profit.
And they'll get a bye if they go undefeated. Which I'm not saying there's always ifs. That's why they're 80-1.
Sure.
But let's make no mistake about it. 80-1, they're not in the SEC, and they just beat Utah. This is a team that people don't know, and I said this last week around the country and went on, nobody knows exactly how good this team is. They're a bunch of guns for hire. None of them are from West Texas. They're all guns for hire. They're out there to win a national championship and get paid. $30 million payroll out there. And they're the one school that seems like they've done a really good job, along with their coaching staff, which I really like. They've got it going the right way at the right time. Are they going to go undefeated? I don't know. But they're 80. They only
have one ranked team left on their schedule, and that's BYU the week before or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. But they go to Houston, they go to Arizona State, and they go to Kansas State. Those are going to be tricky. But the fact they get BYU in Lubbock, that's Texas Tech could be.
Yeah, Kansas State may have dismantled by then. So Kansas State, I don't know what's going on there.
They get K-State and Oklahoma State in back-to-back weeks. Those are two programs that may just disband.
Yeah, by then we'll be like, yeah, let's just play till half, call it a game.
Go play intramurals, brother.
Yeah, so if you don't have a FanDuel account, and I get paid nothing by FanDuel, go get a FanDuel account. Get the 80-1. It's worth it. Open the account. If you're a $100 player, I'm actually going to put that amount of money on. We're way up. Now, if you're new, I wouldn't. So I'm not a $100 player. I'm much, 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 much more. And I'll bet as much as they'll let me bet, up to $10,000 on Texas Tech to win the national championship. Understanding I don't need them to win the national championship. I just want them to make the playoffs, and then I will figure out a way to at least profit $10,000 above the $10,000 that I bet. So now if they lose 3 or 4 in a row, I'll look like an idiot. That's why it's 80-1. That's why it's a long shot. But it's worth a flyer. We rarely get those in-year bets. So go ahead and get that done if you haven't already. Let's turn to the NFL real quick, Brandon. We talked about last week. We didn't even sniff the surface of the bad beats. Before we get into this week's NFL, I just want to remind people that if you do not overreact, if you're overreacting to the bad beats and or the good lucky wins at the end, you're going to be broke by Thanksgiving. Because although the Los Angeles Rams and Philadelphia game was an extreme example of a bad beat, they're up and down the card every week in the NFL. They're going to happen. They will even out. 1 week you're going to have Philly, 1 week you're going to have the Rams. So shrug your shoulders and move on. Your profit will not be determined, your success will not be determined by games like that. They're going to be determined by how many good plays you put out versus how many bad plays you bet on. Keep that in mind first and foremost. And then, Brandon, what do you like this week?
We got an Ireland game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern kick for Vikings Steelers. That one's going to be interesting just because you get Carson Wentz now, who, I mean, Minnesota looked like a machine last week. And I think he kind of fits Kevin O'Connell's system a bit, really a lot better than J.J. McCarthy can. So that's going to be an intriguing game. I think you and I are both still kind of high on the Steelers, even though they're not gelling just yet. I think that'll come in time. Eagles Bucks this weekend is going to be a fun one. Also, what was the Chiefs Ravens? I mean, how can you're getting big boy football And a Monday night doubleheader, which nobody really likes, I don't think.
I love it. We swept the board last Monday night, or 2 Monday nights
Sure,
ago. We had the doubleheader.
sure.
It's just extra profit. When you're dialed in and things are going well, you love the doubleheader. When
When it's 0-3 Jets and 0-3 Dolphins, though,
you're fatigued by the entire weekend, and you're like, why is this still on? Yeah, what can I eat for dinner? So, yeah, it's definitely – and you're not getting a great matchups. But the Broncos-Bengals will be a little bit, but after the way that Browning played with the Bengals, I mean, their offense really looks tough. So, we'll definitely have plays going on this weekend. The big one to me also, do the Packers get back on track? I'd said all week long last week, not that the Cleveland was going to beat them, but that they were definitely going to not as good as people thought they were. People were
Right.
already signing them up for the Super Bowl, and I got a bunch of strains. The TV show, the other guy looked at me like, what are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is this team's not as good as they appear. And sure enough, they lose to on a tough one to Cleveland. So who gets it done on Sunday in one of these bigger games, Brandon?
I mean, I can't trust Dallas at this point. I mean, you see what they do in the opener against Philly, and then all of a sudden they just can't get stops. They have problems defensively. If CD Lamb is not 100%, that hurts their chances even more. I think Green Bay is probably a very, very good team. Would not be surprised to see them go into Dallas and get a win, even after losing to Cleveland last week.
Bucks Eagles. That's the other one. That's a big game, and kind of a litmus test game. We got these in college last week. Are the Bucks ready for this? And is Philly a team that has been playing mediocre and then got a really lucky break against the Rams, and could be 2-2 had that not gone well after they lose on the road here? Or is this the Super Bowl champs that we kind of saw this from last year? Started out slow, build momentum, and everything got better as they got into the colder months. So what do you think of that one?
The Bucks cannot keep banking on Baker bailing them out late. I mean, they keep doing it, but eventually that well's gonna run dry. To me, Philly is a lot more physical than Tampa Bay. They are playing to what they're built for. Like, they don't try to do anything that they're not. Even though they got some weapons in the passing game, they don't force feed them the ball like we see other offenses do. They know their identity. They're going to go out and out physical you. They will push on first, second, third, and fourth down if you let them. And I think this will be too big of a hole for Baker to try and lead the Bucks out of, because he's going to. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice weapon to have, but you can't keep relying on it. They've got to figure out.
Mismatch for sure. Feels a little bit like when you have the Big 12 go play the SEC late in the year, where you've got a team that is in the old days, where you've got a team with some flash, you've got a team that is doing a lot of things well, and you want to make a case for them against just a physically dominant team that doesn't have to take a lot of chances. They don't take a lot of risks. So you know what you're going to get. The variance is much lower. They protect the ball. It seems like a bad spot. Philadelphia has gone over 4 of their last 6 games. They've covered 4 of their last 5 games. And, again, asterisk next to last week. That was ridiculous. Now, they have not been good at covering against Tampa Bay. They've only covered 2 of their last 7 against the Bucks. So Tampa Bay's done pretty well covering the number. But I think this is a Bucks team that has much higher expectations, not only by us or by me, but nationally. People are seeing what they're putting together. They think they can take that next step. So you're not getting the value. In the past, you would be getting a Philadelphia team that you're getting having to lay more points than you probably should based on the public's opinion of things. Tampa Bay over 12 of their last 18 games, but in the series, 4 of the last 5 have gone under. So not a lot of points, generally speaking, when these two teams match up. That also benefits Philly. Turnovers will be a key, and Baker getting pressure against this Philly secondary, I don't think is a great matchup. So, again, it's early in the week. We'll see what happens. Right now, a small lean toward Philly in that one. How are we doing on time, Brandon?
We got to get out of here. There's action-packed weekend. We ready to make money.
We needed 2 hours for sure. FatJackSports.com. The Winnie's going to continue even though the show is not today. We'll be back next week. Go follow us on the socials for a chance to win $250 credit toward any package with the service by liking and following on Instagram, on Twitter, all those social media platforms. The video that we put up of Paris Devon and myself predicting the winner of the Oklahoma State game that's coming up this weekend. FatJackSports.com to win. Don't drink and drive. Wager responsibly, guys. Until next week, enjoy all the football. You've been listening to the Fat Jack Sports Hour.